A continuation of the previous lecture, we will look at how to use Rankx to create a top N filter. So what we want is the ability to only show the top 3, top 5 or the top 10 values, basically whatever the user is selecting. Okay, so let me just copy the table from the previous one. That will help us save some time. And in this, we just want to keep nothing else but my subcategory. All right. Now, what we want to do is to create a new table, which is going to be my top N table. It's very simple, nothing very difficult here. To create a new table, you click on data on the left side. And here you can create a new table like this. Now, this is a new table created using a DAX expression. This can be a little difficult. So what I recommend always is that if you don't really want to use a DAX expression to create a table, you can just click on New Table here in the Home tab, right? But this is also doing the same thing. This can be done, but it's a little more difficult. The simplest way of doing this would be to simply select Enter Data. Now, obviously, you will only use it when you have a limited number of values. Like if you have 500 values, you're not going to use it. But for our specific instance, we can use it. I can say this is my top N values. This is top N. And I'm writing 3, 5, and let's say 10. And this is, let's say, top N 3, top N 5, and then top N 10. Fair enough. Let us load it. In fact, I would also like to change the table name so that we keep a track on it. Otherwise, later on, when we add more elements, we might get confused. So this is our table. Let me, with your permission, I'm just going to rename it and just call this my top N table. Wonderful. Now, what this means is that I can now create a slicer, and in the slicer, we can keep our top N value. So from our top N table, we can keep the top N value like this. So top N 10, top N 3, top N 5. Obviously, you can write whatever you want to write inside, but this is what I've written inside when we created the table. So ideally, what do we want? That when we choose top 3, it should only filter top 3, top 5, and top 10 like this. But it requires us a little bit of work. Let's see how we do it. We already have the rank with us, all right, which is our normal rank, the one using all. What we want to do is we want to create a top N selected. That means that I want to check what is it that the user is choosing from here. So a new measure, and we will say rank top N selected from slicer. Let me make it very descriptive so that there is no confusion here. If, okay, so just let me complete it and then I'll explain. I will say if has one value. And where are we checking this? In the top N table and top N value. Then what should happen? If there is only one value, then what should happen? I want to create a list of all the values from my top N table, top N values. And then I want to find the maximum of the values subcategory and finally the rank that I've given. Let me first show you the result, then we'll clean it up using DAX formatter, and finally I will explain it to you. So we have created top N selected from the slicer, but we're not there yet. There is something still left, which is we have to now create a final measure, which is rank top n sum, which is equal to if the rank is less than or equal to the rank top n selected from the slicer, then we want to find total sales. Let me first show you the result and then I'll explain it. Let me keep my rank top in sum inside the table. You notice we get all the results like this. And assuming we have done everything correctly, now when I select top 3 or top 5 or top 10, just see how it is working. Wonderful. Now that we have checked that, let me first clean up my code. So we want to go back to DAX formatter. I know this takes a little bit more time, but this is always a good habit that you should follow. Otherwise, with these complicated formulas, you will end up making mistakes left, right, and center. Let's see what is happening. When the user is selecting any one of these values, let's say top n3, what happens? I'm checking if my top n table has only one value selected. Obviously, because I've only selected one value. So what will be applied? I'm creating a list of all the values from my top n values. Which means if you look at the top n values are 3, 5, and 10. Now, obviously, when I select top n3, values will only give me one value, which is 3. When I select top n5, it will only give me one value, which is 5. But if the has one value result is not coming as true, that means the user has not chosen anything on the slicer, then it should show me the maximum values. That means it will show me all the values. That means I'm able to see all the results like this. And then finally, I'm creating another measure saying that if the original rank is less than or equal to the top n rank selected from the slicer, then I want to show the total sales. Which means when I select top n3, what happens? Here all the ranks are from 1 to 17, but because I've chosen 3, it will only show me the ranks that are less than equal to 3. That means top 1, top 2, and top 3. This will only show me top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I hope the broad logic is clear. Of course, you will have to practice it once. And if you really want to understand it, I think maybe it's a good idea for you to practice it on Excel or maybe on a piece of paper. Sometimes that helps quite a lot. But I leave that up to you. If you're clear, then we can proceed. Otherwise, you can just pause the video and make sure to practice it once. And now comes the fun part. This is my table. Let me just quickly make this into a chart like this. And just see how beautiful this looks. Now when I select top 3, it will only show me the top 3 or the top 5 or the top 10 like this. Wonderful, right? This is how you can make dynamic dashboards.